Lights, Camera, Live. So listen, if you're thinking of launching a course and you don't know what to post on social media because you don't want to sound salesy, then this is the episode for you. Because today I'm going to have Dr. Lindsay Padilla, the founder of Encore Social, share her secrets on how you can launch your course successfully. So let's go ahead and get started. Lindsay! You guys, okay, listen. The first time I met Lindsay was like at a coffee shop, thanks to our good friend Yvonne Hyman. And when I learned about Encore Social, I was like, are you kidding me? Where has this been? This is brilliant. So check this out, you guys. If you are thinking about launching a course, a virtual summit, anything to establish your authority online, and you've just been wrangling with the right words of what to say without feeling salesy or even pushy, then this is the episode for you. Because Lindsay, you've created this beautiful like spreadsheet. I don't even know what you want to call it.
Magic thing.
It's this magical thing. It's like, imagine you guys if you had like a genie lamp and you're like, what should I post on social media today? And you go rub, and it's like, oh, that's what I'm going to post today. So that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. And if you guys are just tuning in, let us know where you're watching from. I'm here in beautiful Chula Vista. Lindsay, where are you right now?
East Village in San Diego. Yeah. Downtown.
And the weather is gorgeous today. Did you go out today at all?
We did. We wear our masks and we take our dog a little bit on, a little walk. Some days are longer walks than others. And today was one of our long walks. So yes, it was beautiful out.
This is one of our long walks. That's awesome. All right. So let me go ahead and put Lindsay on the screen and let me tell you guys just how awesome and amazing she is. So this is where you get to pose and, hold up a book or whatever it is that you have.
Oh, look smart. Yeah. I have a gold apple. How does that?
There you go. Oh yeah. That was the one that you had in your headshot.
Yeah.
All right. So for those of you who don't know, the amazing, the wonderful Dr. Lindsay Padilla, she is the ex-professor turned entrepreneur behind Course Power, an online coaching program that helps influential experts create six-figure income streams for their businesses through courses and memberships. So you guys, honestly, when Yvi first introduced us, I was like, how have I not met you? Like,
I know, right?
Yvi was like, I saw her at Pat Flynn's mastermind every Wednesdays, and you like, I think you fangirled her, and then I fangirled you.
Yeah, we got to pass it on, right?
You got to pass on the love. Yeah, I love that about San Diego because I feel like there's a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of people that are, maybe it's the sun, maybe it's just the weather, and we're like, you know what? We're going to do it.
Yeah. If I'm going to create my reality in my business, it might as well be in San Diego.
Heck yeah, that's right. So shout out to Tim Stone, who is, he's tuning in from his basement in Pennsylvania. Oh, and we got Normal Heights up in here.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoa. We were just cruising around over there in our car.
Well, good. All right, you guys. So for everyone that is tuning in, we are going to be talking about pro tips for launching your course. And I would say it's not just limited to your course, right? It's virtual summits, it's your book, it's whatever you are using to establish your authority, right?
Yep, definitely.
Love it. Okay, so let's dive into the details. So the first question that I have for you is, some people that are just kind of like in the weeds, they're like Gollum in their cave, like my precious course, right? Like I'm going to launch it on this precious day. And they're only thinking of that day, but what should you be doing before you launch a course?
Oh, Stephanie, I love this question because literally that's why I made the thing I made. It's because I realized, and also I'm really bad at it. So that's another great reason to make a thing, right? Solve your own problem first. So I've been teaching people how to launch courses. I have a program called Build a Better Beta, which is about creating your first course. For most people, it's their first course. It's also a different way of launching your next course as well. But the concept behind it is getting, your first students to be able to kind of experiment, teaching them and making a very flexible curriculum and all of that. And so we talk about launching as quickly as you can and seeing who decides to show up. Well, what I found was when students did that and they got their first enrollment, then it was like the next one. And then they're like, well, when do I launch the next one? And what does that look like? And what do I do up until that date? And so I started to realize that this was a problem I saw lots of places. And rather than overthink it, I saw what was currently out there and the way that people are talking about it and other social prompt systems. And I'm not a social media guru in any way, shape, or form. That's not what my business is on. And like I said, it wasn't even something I did very well. But I realized that if I had some sort of structure and reason, I guess, to post, because there's, you know what I mean? Like it feels like sometimes you're just posting just to post, but and I think it's this idea of we can get stuck. Some people are really good at it. Some people just naturally share their life online and love writing maybe. And then other people almost stop themselves before they even give that a shot. And so this can give, this tool that I decided to create can give a real, an easy framework to work off of. And it's like really flexible. And I think tying social media prompt calendars, right? Because I'm not the first person to do that in any way, shape, or form. I just saw that it could be improved upon and tied to launching. And so when I decided to make the calendar dynamic, it was really based on this idea of you set a launch date, whatever day and whatever time of the year you want, however far in advance. But if you got a prompt that said something, right, that you could decide to post, then it would be something that was engaging and you didn't overthink it. You almost didn't stop yourself, which like I said, I wasn't super good at it. And that consistency, like sometimes I'd have some really prolific things to say for like 3 days and then I'd disappear, right?
Yeah, you're like, oh, this would be really fun to share. And then you like completely go AWOL and everyone's like, well, what happened to that person? I will personally say that like I've gone AWOL on Instagram stories because I was just like, it's been no makeup days. Right? Like I'm rationing my makeup.
Totally. Or like it's quarantine life right now. It's not fun.
Yeah, it's not like, oh, look at me at the swimming pool. Like, no, that's not a thing right now.
Yeah.
So if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about how you could build your authority, create relationships and connections and engage people before you actually launch whatever that passion project that it is that you're working on right now, right? Because some people, for those of us that are like, wow, this is the time for me to really build everything that I've been talking about. You know, that broken record that you've always been telling your best friend, like, hey, I'm going to launch that podcast. I'm going to do that. Right? This really helps you to start putting that together. And I love that you mentioned that it's a framework because when it's a framework, when it's a formula, it makes it super easy to do. And what I like about your system, right, is that it puts the purpose in the prompts. And this was something that we had talked about over coffee.
Oh, yeah, that's the line I'm supposed to start using.
I was like, this is the purpose in the prompts because it's not like, oh, it's Throwback Thursday. Let me just throw up a baby picture. It's like, yeah, that's cute and all, but how does that actually build up to your overarching goal, right? And so when I met her, you guys, I was like, ooh, they're gonna love you. I should have you on the show. That's awesome. So for you guys that are just tuning in, if you have questions right now, everything about like, how do I launch my course? How do I drum up that awareness? How do I get people like sitting on their edge of the seat? This is the episode for you. So we talked about like what you can do in between course launches, right? I feel like a lot of people, when they're in their caves, I still think of Gollum. I'm like a Lord of the Rings
Maybe
fan.
we're in a basement in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, maybe we're in a basement in Pennsylvania. And so when you're doing that, what are some other tips as far as what can you do to engage people while you're in the basement in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, right. Waiting to launch the course. I think that, So to tie it kind of to the framework, because I think that will allow people to kind of see that it's really about consistency, right? And when I saw that I like had these up and down times, and yes, I've heard of batching and I've heard of all the things, right? There's lots of strategies. And so for me, I was like, what am I really trying to do? I'm putting a date that I'm going to open a cart, right? And I'm going to say, hey, I have a program and you could buy it. And then I can work backwards from that, right? And so lots of people that teach launching have launch calendars. And so I was like, well, what does a launch calendar look like when it meets like a prompt calendar? And what if we were talking about this course consistently before we decided to sell it? That is a common problem. And so the authority kind of building framework is actually the A is authority in ACEs. So I created this kind of just way of thinking about it, like buckets. That's another thing that a lot of people talk about, are buckets, like types of content you produce. And so the ACEs framework, what I realized when I zoomed out, and because I'm an academic, I like reading and, seeing what everyone else is doing and being like, okay, like what are they missing? What is this person trying to do? And going to other people, right? Because again, like I said, I'm not a pro on social media. That's not what my business is around. But I am an academic and I'm a researcher. So what are people being taught to do right now? And why are my students still not sure what to post when they go to launch? And so this framework really, it comes from like the jab, jab, right hook. Again, Gary V, like we got to stand on the shoulders of giants. This idea that you can't just like constantly say, hey, buy my program, because you become white noise. You have a program and apparently really no one is buying it, because otherwise you wouldn't be talking about it as much, right? And
That's
so this feast and famine that we were talking about as it relates to posting also relates to unfortunately, talking about our services or our products, right? And we wait until we're launching to talk about it. And in reality, you want to build up desire and you want to educate your people on what it is you do and who you serve, right? And like what problems you solve and how you've helped people before. And that's when I was like, oh, the framework is like, show that I know what I'm talking about, connect with them and share my life with them, and engage with them and talk with them, right? Like them as in the audience. And then the last is the like, start to actually say, oh yeah, like, did you know I have this program? And instead of it sounding like you're always selling, it's more about what is the sizzle column, that last piece of the ACEs framework, the hook, if you will, is really just like hints at what it's like, what results people are getting, like things that you drop when you're typically launching, like, the successes your students have had, or the way the program is set up, or the refund policy, or an objection, right? And so that is directly related to the program that you're launching. And so this idea of constantly selling, like being, giving awareness to your audience that you have products. If you do that consistently every day, when you go to actually start selling the thing, even if it's evergreen, and we could get into that in a second, but if you go to like launch, right, and do a big push for your product, they're not like, oh, here's this person out of nowhere. Like,
it's like, I never knew you were working on that.
Exactly.
You're like, what do you mean?
And that was that's where this kind of came from this idea of like feeling like you're only talking about your course during the launch. That's very common.
And for those of us that have been through launches, that use those other frameworks, it did feel forceful. It was very much like, or I feel like every time, like let's say hundreds of affiliates, and then like you knew that part of the year, damn, you were getting hit with emails, and you're all like, oh hey sis, I haven't seen you for like 6 months, and now you're all up in my inbox. Like, what's up with that? Right? And then even with like these COVID-19 emails, you're like, we're here for you. It's like, girl, where were you last week? So like this whole framework helps you with that. And so if you guys are just tuning in, we're talking about things that you could be doing before your launch to follow the ACEs framework, right? So correct me if I'm wrong, but it's authority, it's connection, it's engagement, and it's sizzle.
And so the way the calendar, so then this is where the like dynamic part of the calendar comes in, that again, I'm not the first person to even come up with a framework or buckets as well. This what makes sense for me and how I talk about course creation and selling, digital products and services. But the idea of the dynamic calendar is, okay, so it's jab, jab, right hook, or jab, jab, hook, where you're doing these like authority and connection and engagement, and then authority and connection and engagement. And then there's a sizzle post, and the cart might not be open, but that sizzle is, Sally tuning in, who didn't catch your other posts, caught that one. And then like 2 weeks ago, she caught, an engagement post, whatever. And so I think it's just this idea of I think it's the trust of, okay, cool, I can sell it, but the calendar's telling me that I can sell it, right? Versus
Yes,
like
yes.
waking up and being like, today I'm gonna post about a student win. Like that
Yeah.
doesn't feel natural. And I think that's why people, their default setting is like, don't brag about your amazing program. That's just not, which makes sense because that you're a good person. No, I'm just kidding. But like you're not gonna wake up and be like, oh my God, I'm so awesome, like every day. And if you did,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of like relationship building and trust that I would have in you that's real, right? And so
Yeah.
I think this just helps give you a spaced out way, like a nice, like organized way of being able to brag about the thing you have, but then
Yeah.
also build relationships and connect with people.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so I actually have on-course social open.
Uh-oh.
Am I allowed to share it? Is that cool?
Sure. Yeah,
Because
go
I
for it.
want to share the magic. Like literally, you guys, this, you know what? Even before I had met you, it was so serendipitous because I had seen your ad pop up, and I told you about it, and I was like, I saw your ad pop up, and I was like, dude, that's really brilliant. And I shared it with my good friend Mike Galton, and he's like, dude, that's legit. And then when Yevie was like, that's her. I was like, this is meant to be.
I love it. So fun.
Yeah, so let me show you guys what it is exactly that we are talking about. We're talking about Encore Social, which is like this magical calendar that you put together. And I'm just going to show you like how I've been playing around with it.
Sure.
But basically, like step one, you put your start date, which is, when do you want to hit the ground running? Like,
Yep.
when do you want to start promoting this? And then you would schedule your actual launches. And this is what I love about Lindsay, because this is where her experience in academia comes into play, because she's like, I'm going to give you a tutorial video on how to do this. And I was like,
Course,
thank you.
it's a little complicated.
was like, thank you.
Even the thing about the start date, right? Like I've bought a lot of prompt calendars, I've bought a lot of prompt systems, and it's like I always felt bad if I didn't start on the day that like the calendar said to start, and then you're like, oh, but all those prompts, I didn't use them. I have this weird like,
Oh, it messes
sorting
with me.
and, yeah,
Yeah, like
You know,
I
it's
have I have a planner, and I put in
Yeah.
the dates, and then one of them I actually put like the 2019 dates instead of the 2020, and then I was like, do I have to like white out? Like, is it just a total mind F with me?
yeah, yeah, seriously.
Right? Because it's like, no, it's supposed to be like this and perfect. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think and let's say you put in today's date and then like you fall off the wagon, like this is like doing the consistent thing. If it makes you feel good to change the start date, you don't waste any prompts. And I think it was like a weird little psychological hack where it's like, you're in control of this and don't worry, we haven't left you behind. All the prompts are reshuffling and like accommodating to you. And that felt like another thing that just like, it just made me feel better about it made me feel like I have control over the prompts versus
Yeah,
them
it's like
being a
it's
certain
like
day.
little wins versus like, oh my
Totally.
God, I had cramps and so I didn't post yesterday, so now I'm completely off my schedule. It's like, no, you can start with this.
And like I'm a bad person and terrible at this.
You're not a bad person. You're human. Okay, so step two is like you schedule your launches. You put in the date of when your cart opens.
Yep.
How many days for the promo and the cart close.
Yeah.
And then I love this where it says step three, start posting. I was like, what?
Already?
Already? Like just that easy? And yeah, it was just that easy because then you have the next tab is your post. It talks about the whole ACEs post bank. Like different
That's
things
where the
that you can-
calendar's pulling from.
Yeah.
It actually takes the data from this. And so what's cool about this, again, completely customizable, but not to the point where, oh my gosh, on, April 23rd, I changed the prompt to this. If you change the prompts in this prompt section, it actually reshuffles. So then Stephanie can put her own magic Stephanie sauce on this.
Yeah.
And then it's hers. And then the calendar actually refeeds what Stephanie writes.
Yeah.
So you can actually start to write your own authority post. Again, totally different than the other post calendars out there where you have to like type it in and then you lose it when that day passes. What I wanted to make was something that like fed itself. Yeah.
And this is nice because I feel like even some people, when they are promoting their programs or their systems, they're like, I reverse engineered so-and-so's launch.
Yeah.
And here's all of that person's script. And you're like, well, it doesn't really feel like me. It brings back that ickiness to it. And so having this, just knowing ACEs made it really easy for me to remember. Like if I did an authority
Good.
post this day, the next day I could do connect. And then the next one will
Yep.
be engagement and so on and so forth. So going back to this, I don't want to like give away your secret sauce or anything, but look at this. Like she even shows you pre-launch content.
Yep.
You're doing mastermind. It's like, Lindsay, this is money. And it is money for you because
Yeah, it is money for me. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I took there is only one launch style that I did, which is like a whole other conversation because yeah, like you bring up, there's lots of different ways to launch. And I wanted to share a masterclass launch. It's definitely the next typical launch that I teach my students after they've validated their product and taught it and all the things. You do the kind of big girl panty launch. And that's where you're drumming up excitement to go watch the video where then you make the pitch. And so I felt like, again, a calendar can plan that for you and say, okay, 10 days leading up to the masterclass is your job is to get them to that masterclass. And so there's prompts specifically for that like in a calendar works backwards. And that's what the like launching system is based on. Now, there's lots of styles. Like I said, there's challenge launches, there's PLF videos of some sort. There's, I don't even know what else, other things. And so I didn't make those. It doesn't mean that it's not coming, and anyone who has Encore Social will get any update and ever for life. But that's what we started with because I do feel like as a business owner, it's a kind of pretty standard style launch. But there's also things that are on that main tab as well. That is like prompts for when the cart is open. And this is where, if you're selling something, you should probably be posting 3 times a day, not just the one on the calendar. And so when you're in launch mode, the idea is get to that section and just start pulling some of those ideas from there. The calendar won't fill for you there, but I talk about that in the pre-video. But like this idea that you need to be actually selling a lot and people expect you to. That's kind of how launches work. And so I set it up that way with intention, having done course launches. That's where that comes from for sure. Yeah.
No, I absolutely love it because having gone through several launches myself, right? And then when you're like, cart is open, and you're like, what do I do? You're like, what do I do? Do I go eat breakfast or do I sit here and I wait for like confirmation emails to go through?
Yeah.
So here's another thing that I really loved about this, you guys, for those of you that are just tuning in. It's like, let's say here's for April, right? And it has everything, the aces all lined up. It has all your different prompts. And what I love about it, Lindsay, is that it doesn't only need to be organic posts. Like if you wanted to do a paid media campaign, you could do authority, whoever engages, like let's say with that live stream show about authority. Then your next one is going to be connect. And then you funnel, you retarget them so that way they go through the whole entire ACEs framework. And then by that point, they're like, okay. Tell me more. More. Let's do this. Let's do this. So if you guys are just tuning in, right, we're talking about pro tips for launching whatever it is that you want to launch. For those of you that are right now in your basements working on stuff, tell us, like, I would love to know, like, what are your pain points when it comes to launching your courses? Because I even know for me, like these days, having gone through so many, right? Like you want to have a bankroll of student testimonials, people that you could still reach out to and just be like, hey, how's it been since you've taken the course? And where do you put it? And so I love that section in Encore Social where I could put the testimonials and all that stuff. And then does that shuffle into my ACEs?
Correct. Yep. So there's so many use cases for this where I'm just like, dang, it can be overwhelming, but it's also exciting because I realize how much it's helping people. Yeah. So I think testimonials, case studies, like if you do it once and you're like, this is a really good one, I'm going to actually put it in that column. The calendar will go through it. Now, what I do want to say about the calendar is we are working within the framework of Google Sheets. It does not work in Excel. And the way that formula works is it pulls at random. So we can't, there's no way to say that like the order, I guess I should say, of the post. And so
got it.
What I mean by that is like, the more you use it and put your own content in, the more you'll start to see your own content, but we can't control it. So if you add something at the bottom and you don't see it for like 6 months, it's just the way the calendar decided to pull, right? And like, we can't, like, there's no way to change that. So I just want to make that clear, because some people are like, oh, but how do I know if it's like I haven't already done it? And it's like, there's no way to actually tell the calendar, like, you've already done that post, like another one. But I promise, with like the way social media works, no one's going to be like, you just posted that. It won't be back to back. That won't happen. But it is random, and it's a randomized kind of system. But what is cool is that you can just change anything and keep adding all the way down the bottom indefinitely. So you could literally add everything like that you've ever, created or want to. And I think one of my favorite use cases, and one of the reasons why I did it this way as well, is, I think it's, as we gain, status as entrepreneurs, as marketers, people look to us for things we've said, or quotes that we have, or like things that, we're known for saying, like we give a talk or something. And I didn't want to make a prompt calendar that had like pre-done quotes, because I don't think those work anymore. Again, not a social media guru, but I'm pretty sure they don't, right? Like Albert Einstein, like, does anyone care that he said whatever, right? I don't really think so, right? But I do care what Stephanie Liu said on stage at Social Media Marketing World, right? Because, oh my gosh, she said that thing, and it's so good because I'm an entrepreneur and that's what happens to me on live, right? And so you start to build authority, and I wanted to encourage people to create their own quotes, right? And start citing themselves, and giving them the space to put that in the authority section and really think about yourself as an authority. Start quoting yourself, or even some of your mentors, which you can put in the engage section, where you're bringing in people that, have had an impact on you, and you want to cite them and tag them, which, brings in possibly their traffic and their folks. So it's that kind of thing about creating something that was malleable to what it's really like to post online as a digital marketer, I guess.
Yeah. And it's always nice to have, because when you're a speaker, you always have to pull from experiences to tell stories, right? And so I naturally have like a Google Doc and an Evernote where I'm just always putting stories of like lessons learned. Well, now this framework, right? Like the system that you have allows me to put that in there, and I could shuffle it any which way that I want. Like I was even telling Mike Alton over at Agora Pulse, I was like, this would be cool to be integrated into your social media scheduling platform. So like, let's say I log the day and it tells me, hey, you should write an authority post. And I was like, oh, well, give me an idea. Right? I was like, I should. You're right. I should. Right?
What a great idea.
And so then I was like, Mike, you should probably, buy this company out.
There we go. I'm in. Let's do it, Mike. Let's talk.
I was like, Lindsay, you should license this out. But yeah, it made so much sense to me, because in my mind, like all of the different interviews that I do, those are great authority posts. I already have it in Agora Pulse as like a scheduling queue.
Yep.
And so to have this spreadsheet as well makes it so easy. And it's also very, very easy to sell your clients as well.
Yeah.
Right? Like let's say if you're launching for a client, you're a strategist, you do paid media or whatever. Once I feel like you explain to them the ACEs framework, they're like, oh, yeah, that does make sense. Okay, I'll get those testimonials for you.
Yeah, it demystifies, I think, back to that point like that we were talking about earlier, like it kind of demystifies this idea of like, I could post anything today. And it's like, yeah, there's only so many styles and things that you could post. So like, what if I just decide for you? And to your point about, it's funny because there's lots of scheduling tools out there. And I think it doesn't really take into consideration about how people make decisions about creating their posts. It's more about not recycling, but more about like, oh, I can make sure it shows up in the right places at the right time so you can batch, which is all awesome. But then it's like, if you're sitting there trying to batch content and be prolific, like for 8 hours, and you're just like, oh yeah, and then I'll talk about this, it's a lot. And so one of the bonuses actually in Encore Social is Jordan Gill, who's of System Save Me. She is amazing. She's like kind of one of my go-to like productivity type people and like SOPs and systems and stuff. And she she teaches the batch workshop, and she shows how she uses that in conjunction with another scheduling tool. But the idea is the prompt like allows you to be like, oh, let's just like write on that for a little bit and then schedule it. And then let's just write on that a little bit and then schedule it. And I think that's really a cool part about it.
I feel like it needs to be like an ACEs planner that you would just journal, you know? Ooh. Like I have so many ideas for you because I was literally like,
come on as a partner.
Well, because I was thinking, you know, like sometimes I come across articles about how live streaming, like Facebook Live usage has increased over 50% over a period of time. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and bookmark that, and I'll probably share it on Agora Pulse for a little bit, but then it goes away. Yeah. But what if? Yeah. What if there was an Encore Social Chrome extension where I'm like, hey, can you add this to that testimonial column?
Stephanie, I already have that on my list. I'm like Chrome extension, like 1,000%. Where it actually is tied to, so maybe coming soon, but it's actually tied to also like, hey, Steph, did you post today? I pulled this from your calendar. You should post this. And then you could just be like, oh yeah. And then like type it out really quick. So then it's like, you don't have to even pre-think it and pre-schedule. It's on that whim, again, thinking for you, right? Making decisions for you, or you have it show up at a certain time. I know a lot of people have to kind of block their calendars and be like, oh yeah, now is time that I like engage on social and like do this. And so what if that prompt, like, again, as few decisions that we have to make as business owners, that's one thing I've learned about being a business owner is all those decisions you make really tire you out. Oh, and this is one of them where you're just like, how do I say something smart online?
I love that you guys, that is a true confession about like being a business owner, like of all the decisions you have to make.
So many.
Because literally by the time at 5 o'clock, my husband will come down. He'll say, what do you want for dinner? I'm like,
oh my God.
like, I don't care. Yeah. I was like,
whatever.
I don't care. Peanut butter, you know, like I've made so many decisions, just, choose something. But yeah, like just playing around with it. I'm like, there's so many things, Lindsay, I would love to have, like maybe like even like an app form, right? I get like a notification. It goes like, here's your ACEs post. And I get like my little diary. I put it in there. Then all of a sudden it goes into my system. Like, there you are. And when do you want to post it? Yeah, girl. I was like, Evie?
Like what's happening? It's funny because I'm starting a software company not related to this really at all. Related to courses for sure, but not social media of courses. And one of my mentors, the person I'm coaching with, because that's a whole other world, is creating software. Yeah. He's like, basically anything that's a spreadsheet could probably be software. If you're solving a problem through some sort of like spreadsheet, and I was like, oh dang, like there's software in this for sure. The question is who's going to make it? Because I don't know if it's me. But yeah, no, for sure. And I think that would be really cool as well. And I think maybe as I develop this, like, yeah, maybe I'll totally turn this into its own business, like side thing, because it could very well be.
It's like it really is. You have the framework. I feel like this is like a coaching call already.
I know, right?
No, I feel I feel like you have the framework. It could be like another little planner thing that you write out, and it's something that you could flip through and you could recycle, and it's so helpful. And I think even just with my clients, I've started to put that in there because already with clients, I don't know if you've read the book Contagious by Jonah Berger, Why Things Catch On.
No,
he talks about the 6 steps framework. Yeah, so it's 6 steps on what makes content shareable, right? So you get social currency, triggers, emotions, public value, purpose, and then the last one is storytelling, right?
Ooh,
so
good.
Whenever they're like, hey, can you share this press release on social media? I'm like, of the 6 steps, where would this fall under?
There you go.
Nowhere.
Yep.
Like nowhere. So it's, I think this is a really great system to have, and it's so easy. So easy to use and so easy just to hit the ground running. And it's not like, okay, I've already used this for one launch, I can never use it again.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the thing too, is as somebody who, teaches people how to go live and all those things, it's like not every follower is going to catch every single live or watch every single post or read every single email. And so as business owners and people who are personal brands, I guess, as well, it's like you feel like you're repeating yourself, but in reality, you have new people catching you, every day. And then they're missing stuff because of algorithms and all the things. And so, and that there's so many different channels. So one question, and it's hard to organize, and because we've talked about this, like how it could work into the calendar, is it's really hard to like multiple channels. And so some tips I'm giving people is to just literally duplicate the calendar and make it for Facebook and make one for Instagram. So then you're not like really overthinking it. And I tell people like, yeah, it says, it gives you a prompt every day, but you don't have to post every day. It's a choice. Like, don't make it feel like you don't have to. So there's all these different things. Like I want people to realize that this thing is a tool to help you. It's not to like control or make decisions. Like, you know what I mean? And so that you get to put your own stamp on it. And so if you want to post,
it's like a thought starter.
It's a thought starter.
Yeah, it's a thought starter. Rather like, oh my God, what do I have to post today?
Yeah.
But
like you could get in the trap of overthinking it, I guess is what I'm trying to say, where people are like, wait, how do I post on 2 platforms with this thing? And I'm like, well, okay, like let's think about it, right? Because or like I post 3 times a day and this doesn't let me. And I was like, okay, that's good. And like, how's that working for you? Like, are you a bajillionaire or right? And so I'm just always questioning also people's preconceived, I guess, notions of like how they need to be on social. And so I want them to know that like this is a tool to support them, not make it like harder. That's what I want to,
No, honestly, I love the whole framework idea, and I'm just going to bounce more ideas off of you. I know I should be asking you questions, but I'm like, no, here's an idea, and I would love to see it come to life. I always tell people whenever I do a live video, however long it is, whether it's 30 minutes, 45 minutes, you could always repurpose it and cut it into 1-minute social media videos. And so even with this, I then turn around to my VA and I'm like, hey, now let's listen to the episode and see what falls under ACEs. And then now I have like little videos that go into that, and it just makes it so helpful. I know that even in Agora Pulse, I used to have like scheduling cues by like, these are interviews, these are podcast interviews. Here's our other people that I love who are their RSS feeds. And now I'm rethinking it. Like, this is your impact on me, right? This is your testimonial.
Right? Put this in my sizzle category.
Put this in your sizzle category. But yeah, so like even in my own thinking, I'm now creating the ACEs as my publishing cue. I'm like, oh, I will now take this scheduled post and I'm going to tag it for this and for that. That way I could always repurpose it the way that I want it to.
I love that you're bringing up a VA or like someone that's helping you in your business, because that's another thing. It's like if you give someone the job of like chopping up the video and making other things, now you're like giving them something to look for, which also helps. So like that idea of what the kind of the importance of frameworks and methods and systems is it helps people make decisions. And so handing this off to somebody and that they understand, because it's very simple. It's not 6 buckets. It's 4, right? And it's like, it spells out a word that and it like, so that helps us, right? It's a mnemonic. So that idea that someone on your team really quickly can adapt and get it and get what you're doing, I think is also huge. For sure.
I love it for teaching the VAs. I love it for presenting to clients, because then they start to think that way too. Right? Again, going back to the example of here's a press release, and it's like, it's your standard press release. It doesn't even have any multimedia.
Not even fun. Where's the story? Where's the
where's the fun in this? All right, so for those of you guys that are just tuning in, I'm going to take a quick sip of water, and so is Lindsay, because obviously we've been geeking out. And while we do that, I want to tell you a quick thing about the Leap into Live Streaming Bootcamp that is kicking off next week. And so here's a little bit about that.
We don't gotta make it complicated. Let's stir it up now. You and me, we got time to waste it. So give it up, cool down. Bigger houses, faster cars. Don't need it all, just come around to the backyard. We don't gotta make it complicated. I feel it all with every piece of me. It's going down and we're turning it up. It's okay now, don't you
I'm like dancing.
It's like so much fun. Yeah. So if you guys haven't heard, we have the Leap into Live Streaming Bootcamp that kicks off next week on Wednesday, April 29th. And it's featuring 40 plus live streaming legends. We've got Luria Petrucci, Brian Fanzo, Pat Flynn's going to be there. Hey! All sharing tips and tricks on how you can take the leap into live streaming so that way you can go from unknown to unforgettable in your business. So it kicks off next week on Wednesday and it ends on Friday, May 1st, but that doesn't mean you're not going to have access anymore. You'll still have access to the content until June 1st. So make sure that if you haven't registered already, that you go ahead and you do that because it's going to be amazing. And we would love to have you there. We have my little one here.
I was gonna say I hear some noises.
You hear a little human being.
Yeah.
There you go. She's like, I don't mind if she comes over with my iPad because it's all learning games on my iPad. And you could appreciate that as an educator.
Yes. There you go.
I love it. So, I mean, I've been completely geeking out with you, telling you how I've been using it, how I've been sharing it with clients, how I've been sharing it with brand partners, where I'm like, this would be an amazing tool to integrate. Even like with live streamers, I'm like, you don't know what to talk about? Follow this.
Yeah, right. And you could do like live stream type prompts. Yeah.
Live stream.
Sure.
Yeah, like you're basically everything that you've created is your book at this point. I'm like, and here's a chapter for your launches, your masterclass, your live streams, your whole entire content strategy. And I was like, this is brilliant. So what's next for you then?
Ooh, software. Yeah. So like, it's been cool, like selling a product that's really helpful for people and like, it's a great price point and like, it's bringing so much value. So there's something really fulfilling about that, I guess.
Yeah.
From not that, courses or programs aren't valuable. They totally are. But this is just like a little bit of a twist on that. And so I'm kind of running my business through this funnel and optimizing this, which is funny. So you could totally hack it and do whatever with it. But yeah, I mean, having this product has actually allowed me to create space for creating the software that we're creating. And so that's taking up a lot of time because it's like web developers and equity shares and all, fancy stuff like that I
She
never
said equity shares,
I
you
know,
guys. She means business.
Not a joke. And and that's it's so funny that I was on a podcast interview just now and I was avoiding becoming a software, like a SaaS CEO, because I was like, I don't know what that is. Like that, someone else has like figured that out. I don't need to do it. I'll just like find someone to partner with. And then 7 or 8 months later, I'm like, no, I'm building this thing and it's just happening because I need to do it. So, and now here we are and I'm just doing it. And this product though has helped me really create that space because now I'm not, I was delivering a premium product prior. So I was doing a lot of coaching and it was a lot of high touch. And so it's been really cool to play with different business models. And so I'm in the place where I'm like, how do I remove myself from my business enough or create space, I should say, for this other business to start? Because having two businesses is not easy. And so it's been cool though, because it's a real lesson in like, what do I need, right? Like how can I show up and serve my people, but not be on beck and call, right? Like it's that kind of stuff. And so this product has really helped me be able to do that and still help people launch courses and create really great, amazing teaching experiences, because that is also what I believe in and help people do. It's just, I've shifted my product suite, I guess, if you want to get super marketery. So
well, I feel like
cool.
that's what we all do, right? It's like, It's like now that we've done this and we've put the little bow on it and we have a proof of concept. It's now, what's the evolution of it? What's going to happen next?
Totally.
And so I will tell you for sure that I'm keeping my eye on you, right? I see the ads. Every time I see your ad pop up, I actually like leave a comment. I'm like, yeah, love it. You can just give that extra push, that extra love. Because I've seen other calendars starting to pop up like in my Instagram stories.
Well, Facebook knows you click on it, so they're going to show you all the other.
But I was just kind of like, I wonder if these are other people just piggybacking off of your success, because you were the first one, I feel like, that had the purpose in the prompts.
Yeah,
Right.
for sure.
Now
Yeah.
I'm seeing like a reskinned version, and I'm like,
Yeah. Still not as cool. I have my eye
Yeah.
out, but yeah, still not as cool. But yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
true. And we knew that. I think that was the other part of this is like part of me is like, well, it is a Google sheet. like there's a lot that can, happen with that. And so I think that like for me, it's just like it's a $27 tool that helps people and that feels really good. And like there's gonna be people that copy it and all these other things. And that is, it's the part of doing business. I mean, making sure that I don't know,
That's the
like
thing,
that
though.
I
It's like
still
it's
serve.
a tool, right?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a tool,
it's
and like not.
it's like buying a hammer. You could go to Lowe's and you could buy a hammer, but it's really going to be about like what you build with it. And I think
Correct.
when you come to the client and you say, "I've already created content for you for the next year," right?
Yeah.
And it's based off of this framework,
have
and
a
they're like,
plan.
"Oh,
Yeah,
wow!"
totally.
Like I
And
have like a real plan.
That's the thing. I'm just in this place of there's going to be lots of spin-offs and that's cool. I think there's probably going to be people that do cool tweaks on what I'm doing. And I think that's part of being in digital marketing for sure.
Yeah. Well, okay. So another idea just came into my head. You know me. I already.
I'm gonna have to
we've
rewatch
already.
this. And, like,
No,
send it
we've
to my
already
team
talked
and
about
be
like our communication skills. Remember how I told you I was like I'm visual and like ideas just come at me.
Me too.
I was like I would definitely see an integration with this with like an easel or a Canva, right? Where all of a sudden it's like, oh, and this is your prompt for the day, and here's the design template that goes with
That
it.
would be crazy.
And here's your brand colors, your brand.
Yeah, right? Like, ooh, because Canva is releasing some cool stuff, and I know Easel as a competitor, and just like they're making it do cooler things than it used to do, like when I first started,
Yeah.
for sure.
What if it was just like, okay, so here's authority, here are the different prompts, and then you say, okay, how do you want it to look like? Do you want it to be an image, a video, or an audiogram? And then
Yeah.
it gives
And it
you an
like
idea.
gave you the tool to build it. It's funny because I thought about that too, and I think there was someone on an ad that was just talking with their friend. People have conversations with each other on my ads and stuff now because they've been running a while. And someone
It's
was
your
like,
market research,
yeah,
right?
right. Someone's like, oh, Sally, did you make an image? And she was like, yeah, I totally. And I was like, but it's true because I don't really decide that for you. It's like, does this feel like you could do a live, right? Or does this feel like you could make a quick video or do an email or like, because someone's like, also like, wait, could I use this for emails? And I'm like, yeah, like you could send an email about your favorite college professor if you want.
Yeah.
And your audience will like that because they're learning about you, they're connecting with you. And that's the point of that phase, right? And so it is really malleable. It took me actually interviewing Laura Belgray. She's a bonus in there and she's a copywriter and does emails. She's famous for like having emails that get opened. And she messaged me when I was like setting up who to interview for like different social media things, which is part of the bonus. Because I'm like, again, not an expert in any particular social media platform. So I brought people on. This is before I knew you, Stephanie, by the way. Just for
I
the
wear
record.
many hats. I wear many
Yeah.
hats. People come to me for very different things. Yeah.
But Facebook Live, I totally would have. But yeah, so Laura Belgray came in and she's like, email counts, right? And I was like, oh, didn't even think about it. And
Oh,
like,
I was
yes, you
already
could
like
totally
thinking of
use
your
it.
landing page. Like you could have dedicated landing pages for different verticals,
For
for
different
different
ones.
mediums.
Now you're getting
Like,
serious. We can make $1 million company out of this little tool, right?
yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. I mean that's the vision, right? Or what is
Right?
the vision?
Yeah, I don't know. Like part of my vision is so on my software that I'm releasing that this is like my thing that I'm helping people with right now. But like I can get wrapped up in this all day long because it could absolutely be a software. It could absolutely have a Chrome extension. I have a list of like, I could have multiple challenges. You could pick, launch styles. You could pick, and that would fill in your calendar. And I actually have frameworks for some of those. So it's one of those things where you're like, time investment and the other thing,
Yeah,
right?
like,
when
I
you're-
would also even see it as like a joint venture thing where it's like, hey, if you buy my course about podcasting or whatever, and you get the Encore Social like add-on or something.
Totally. Yeah,
Rev
like
share.
selling it. We're playing with that. I just haven't really explored like the licenses, but like white labeling or agency level. Like there's different like styles, and one of them could be that we help you make a custom version for your audience specifically. So it's not called Encore Social. It's called something else, and your framework fills it. And maybe it is about Facebook Live. So instead of it being platform agnostic, which is kind of how I sell it, that it could be any type. You could make it for Instagram. You could make it for TikTok. You could make whatever, right?
Yeah.
And like just make it, and for your audience and your style. So totally customize the prompts. But then, and then you have a license that you could use it for. Yeah, go for it.
I have another idea for you. Because you know how everyone's like, oh, you could do impromptu videos, right? And it feels a little bit more natural. Like, what if you actually had a video app that says, here's the prompt, and I just want you to answer that question, and that's what you're sharing in your Instagram stories.
Are we coming up with an app together?
We're girl, this is a thing.
This is a thing. I'm down for it. I'm available.
All right, you guys. Cool. This has been absolutely amazing. Lindsay, you've completely blown my mind. I love that we could just bounce ideas off of each other, and I am so invested in your success. Please keep me updated about everything that you're working on, anything that you bring to life. I will probably just shoot you a DM or a text message every now and then, like, have you thought about this?
Have
you met this?
Totally.
All right. Well, thank you so much. All right, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the show. And one last thing, Lindsay, where's the best place for people to find out about you and Encore Social?
Yeah, I think I'm enjoying. I actually am like bringing back Facebook groups. They like went out of style for a while. I'm hanging out in the Teachers Lounge, the Wealthy Teachers Lounge, and so if you want to use the tool and talk about how people are using it, that's a place that we're hanging out. We talk about course creation and platforms and all the things. So where all the teachers who want to make some cash online are hanging out. That's my place.
Cash online.
Corral.
I'm digging it. Yeah. I love it. I love it. All right, you guys. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lindsay. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.